Let me guess, you're not religious. Real original. If you're my age and someone asked you if you were religious, you'd probably reply with something like, I'm atheist or agnostic. I don't really know what the difference is, but I don't believe in God. Well, in the context of this video, you should believe in God. I'm God. I control the fate of these pixels and sound waves. I know a picture of a Stellar's J will appear in 100 seconds. I know how this video ends. And most importantly, you couldn't disagree with me if I were to make some assertions. First, the definition of cult that we will work with. Cult means a system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. I just Googled cult definition and that showed up. It's not rocket science. Second, a distinction. We will assume that the distinction between cult and religion lies in whether or not the exalted figure is alive and can actively benefit from their devoted followers. Lastly, a claim. You are in a cult. Maybe even a couple. I don't know. But you're in one. Now, obviously, you're not in a cult, hopefully. However, the sociological and psychological behaviors that cultists often exhibit likely mirror some of your own behaviors. To draw this link, first we have to be on the same page about how a cult functions. Luckily, I'm God, so pretty well versed in the subject. All the other subjects too, for that matter, but cults are, my forte. At its most basic form, a cult requires at least two people, a follower and a leader. The relationship that the two have relies on a dependency that is mutually unspoken. For this to last, the two parties must, of course, get something out of this relationship. In real cults, the ones we don't really care about in this video, for the follower this might be a promise of eternal salvation or abundant wealth or just a better world, anything that sounds too good to be true. The leader might then string the follower along by saying that their wishes will be granted so long as they pay or provide a service or do some sort of action that the leader desires. In our case, the luxury that the follower is provided is the opportunity to not think about themselves. Oftentimes, people turn to cult leaders because they're looking for safe harbor in stormy seas, or to create meaning from chaos, or find solace within pain, or other weirdly poetic things. And if you haven't read the news or been on Reddit lately, the TLDR is that a lot of people aren't particularly happy with the realities they've found themselves in. In these situations, a natural course of action is to simply ignore reality. Thinking about my life makes me feel bad because of the general state of things. So imagine if there was a way to turn off thoughts. Then there'd be no chance of thinking about the general state of things. It's foolproof, except we are so damn good at thinking, we can't stop. When we're awake, we are well-oiled thinking machines. So, since there's no way to stop thinking, the next best thing is to think about something other than ourselves. Literally anything. Like, conveniently, maybe a cult leader or two. And so, the follower spends less and less time thinking about themselves and more time thinking about the leader. In turn, their relationships are neglected and they take care of themselves less and their obligations pile up and it's chaos, it's catastrophe, the humanity. From our vantage point, this deal is extremely unfair. We can clearly tell that the follower will grow less and less as an individual and ultimately be left with dashed hopes. Meanwhile, the leader will just gain more and benefit from the follower's sacrifices. So far, this relationship seems tightly connected. But I'd like to make the case that it is quite disjoint. Both parties seem to be operating within their own covert social contracts. More specifically, the utility that the other person provides is beneficial. Not the actual person, but the utility. The follower is spurred on by an entertaining and captivating fantasy that the leader spins up, while the leader is driven by the money or attention or services that they receive from the follower. There's no love, there's no communication, there's no trust. It's just the transaction. This only becomes more and more pronounced as the leader gains more followers. It's impossible for a leader to actually intimately connect with hundreds or thousands or even millions of their followers. There just isn't enough time. Think about how hard, although extremely rewarding, it is for you to cultivate and maintain your own relationships with your loved ones. On top of this, follower growth simply increases the attractiveness of the leader, feeding the cycle. Right? As follower count grows, the leader's intimacy becomes more and more valuable. So if the leader were to pay attention to one follower out of 1,000, that interaction will only make the follower feel more strongly about their leader, thus strengthening the dependency. Meanwhile, other followers long for this same interaction, so seeing it become a reality for a peer means it's a possibility for them, further strengthening the dependency, but within another follower. It's foolproof. Friends, family, fans, and my dear followers, it's time to do a blackout curtain reveal. I know. It's another person online proclaiming the dangers of mass media consumption. I know. You guessed it, and I'm embarrassed to reveal it. I know. Throwing tomatoes will only make me happier. My mom made an absolutely fantastic tomato soup the other week, so we would just get to have that again. Anywho, let's rewind a bit and forget about that. Earlier, we said that the dependency between a follower and a leader is mutually unspoken. This is crucial. As we consume easy-to-access, seemingly entertaining media centered around a person, there's no explicit relinquishing of attention. The delicious implication here is that you simply don't have to think about yourself, right? It's not like you wake up in the morning and open up the cell phone app and immediately think, awesome, I get to look at what all my cult leaders are doing. It's just that you wake up and open up the cell phone app and don't have to think about yourself. It's foolproof, right? While this behavior feels like it benefits us, it actually only obviously benefits the cult leaders. As we graze in these pastures of lush green grass that contain zero nutrients, the cult leaders get rich as they collect the fees that we paid to access these pastures of nothingness. Or Google pays them a bit of money as a reward for convincing us to watch an advertisement. This does make us fools. I might be bordering on like productivity guru, alpha male type beat shit here, but self-improvement and discipline and like responsibility are kind of important, actually. The majority of time not spent on the challenging journey of self-actualization should still be spent in service of yourself or your loved ones. This could be as simple as reading or relaxing or socializing or spending time outside or just doing nothing. Even if it's just something small like that, it's better than spending time and thinking about someone that you'll never meet. Luckily, there are reminders in the words we use. We pay attention or we spend time. Speaking of and with words, so far I've managed to not say the word distract, for which I'm pretty proud of myself. Distract feels very soft. We've collectively beaten the crud out of that little word so much to a fine little pulp. It's so useless now. We shouldn't spell it anymore. Distractions are immediately dismissed and they're seldom taken seriously. And why would they? If you recognize that you're distracted, then you also recognize there's something more pressing worth focusing on. And as soon as that happens, the distraction's already in the past because you're focusing on whatever's more pressing. You've conquered it already. Thus, reframing this behavior of seeking the mindless as patterned and ingrained and deep is much more effective at solving this problem than equating harmful escapism to a series of isolated occurrences. Hopefully, you'll end up acknowledging that you're just a foolish cultist. My favorite musician is Bon Iver. They make astonishing music that defies genre and bounds. I don't listen to their songs somehow listen to me. I've been a fan for over a decade, and I will gladly spread my wallet wide open the next time they come to Vancouver. They make beautiful stuff, but being a primarily digital listener forces me to experience this art entirely disconnected from the band. It isn't real. With that said, my role as a digital listener is enjoyable. To me, the relationship I have with the band is somewhat special while also being purely transactional and functional. Effectively, they're so far removed from my social circle that they may as well be a machine. And I need this illusion to maintain my attitude toward their music. I enjoy reveling in the disconnectedness. I don't want to know what a song was written about, or what it's supposed to mean, or what the lyrics are trying to say. I get a lot more enjoyment crystallizing my own experiences, interpretations, and feelings about the music than someone else's, even if they made it. Mingling my fantasy of it with the real world would shatter my happy, deluded mind. Thinking about this more abstractly, knowing that enthralling media is indulgent in nature and can easily be overconsumed, not in the way where you can listen to a song a lot and get bored with it, but in the way where you can spend too much time consuming media, allows us to view media consumption through a new and hopefully healthier lens. Identifying our position as a lone cultist amidst a sea of online cult leaders forces us to intentionally choose which cult we want to support. And if that sounds and feels disturbing, God knew that was going to happen.